The hour for convening having arrived, all members will please take their seats. The clerk will ring the bell. We're going to have the morning roll call. All members present will please vote green to signify their presence in the chamber, and the clerk will unlock the machines. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machine. Doorkeepers will please close the doors and keep them closed. Well, good morning and welcome to day 19. Our speaker, Ralston, cannot be with us today, but he assures me he will be back bright and early tomorrow morning. We'll begin our day with scripture reading and prayer by the chaplain, after which we will pledge allegiance to the flag of our country. Our chaplain this morning will be introduced by the gentleman from the 69th House District, Chairman Nix. Chairman Nix.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's my privilege today to introduce our chaplain of the day, Reverend Donald Yancey from Faith Baptist Church in LaGrange. Before I tell you more about him, I'd like to recognize his wife, Robin, who is with us. Robin, would you stand and let us greet you? And Madam Speaker, I want to tell you the chaplain of the day actually has a secret that I'm not sure he wants me to tell you or not, but he has a relative who is in this body. Is it all right if I tell him? Sure. Darrell Elam is his first cousin. And Darrell's over here. What was kind of interesting, when I started talking about Faith Baptist Church, Darrell was real quickly to tell me, well, Donald's my first cousin. But when I started talking to Donald about being in the house, he didn't say anything about Darrell. I don't know what that means, but you'll just have to decide for yourself. Reverend Yancey graduated from Fayette County High School in Fayetteville, Georgia. He graduated college at Abraham Baldwin in Tiff, Georgia with a degree in biology. He was a business owner and operator in Georgia for 28 years. He's been married to his lovely wife, Robin, for 31 years. They have 2 children. And he was called to preach in 2009, so this was not something that he just came out of school and that's all he's done. He has quite a career prior to going into the ministry. He attended seminary at Titus Baptist Seminary and got his bachelor's, master's, and doctorate from that institution. He is currently the pastor of Faith Baptist Church in LaGrange, where he has been for 4 years. And I want to tell you, when I go to church, I really like to go to hear good preaching. Some people go to hear the music and all, but I go to hear really good preaching. And I will say this, Reverend Yancey has never disappointed me, and I am proud to introduce him to you this morning.
Thank you so much, brother.
Let me get back.
Well, good morning. Thank you, Madam Speaker, for the incredible opportunity to speak this morning, and thank you, Mr. Randy Nix, for the invitation. The Bible tells us in Genesis chapter 1 that in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. The earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. And God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. God saw the light, that it was good. God divided the light from the darkness, and God called the light day, and the darkness he called night, and the evening and the morning were the first day. For the next 4 days, God spoke into existence all that there is. But on the 6th day, for the first time, God put his hands into his work. He said, let us make man in our own image. And God put his hands into the dust of the earth and created mankind in his own image. Ever since that day, it has been God's desire to have an intimate relationship with his most cherished creations. Over the years, God has allowed governments to rule over the affairs of men. You and I have been so blessed by God as to live in the most blessed nation in the history of mankind. But to whom much is given, the Bible tells us that much is required. As representatives, you've been given the incredible opportunity to be the voice of the people. You've been allowed by God to sit in a position that ultimately will shape our state and have great value in the shaping of our nation. And I know that you don't take that lightly. I know that you bear much weight and you bear many burdens in the things that you do from day to day. But God didn't put us here to bear burdens. God put us here to follow him. That's why Isaiah chapter 41 says, fear thou not, for I am with thee. Be not dismayed, for I am thy God. I will strengthen thee, yea, I will help thee. Yea, with the right hand, I will uphold thee with the right hand of my righteousness. David said in the 55th Psalm to cast thy burdens upon the Lord, and he shall sustain thee. You've been given a great task. God has allowed you to sit in this incredible position with some incredible opportunities, but God expects us to seek godly wisdom. That's why in the book of James he said, if any of you lack wisdom, let him ask of God, who giveth to all men liberally and upbraideth not, and it shall be given him. Then the Bible tells in Jeremiah chapter 33, and God said, call unto me, and I will answer thee, and I will show thee great and mighty things which thou knowest not. God expects his children to call on him. The Old Testament book of 2 Chronicles, God made a promise to his people. He said, if my people which are called by my name will humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then will I hear from heaven. I will forgive their sins and I will heal their land. And God has put you in a position to do some incredible things through you. God expects us. God desires for the people that he puts in leadership position. He desires that we seek his godly counsel. Anybody in here play golf? Yeah, maybe a couple. You know, one of the beauties of golf is you get there to enjoy your day and you walk up on the number one tee box, and everything about hole number one starts on that tee box. How well hole number one goes depends on how good your tee shot goes. You come in a little bit tense and maybe you don't follow through and you get a little slice, and although you envision that ball going down the fairway, somehow it gets that automatic right-hand curve and lands over here in the woods. With a good shot, you set up for a good hole, but now you're over here behind a tree in the woods. And if your golf's like mine, it always sits right behind the tree where you can no longer even see the green. So now you're trying to get a long iron just to get back over to the fairway, which naturally comes out clean and runs all the way across to the other side, and now it's in the rough. Some of them play golf like I do. So now you've got a short iron to try to get up, and finally you're sitting in the middle of the fairway, but you're hitting your fourth shot. You wind up with a double bogey because you started with a bad tee shot. It's a great example for life because the same is true how you start your morning. God expects you and I to start our morning with prayer. God expects you and I to start our morning by reading some of his word. And when you start your day off with a good tee shot, when you start your day off with a good prayer, and you start your day off with the word of God, you've set up the rest of your day to be a good day, so you're not fighting an uphill battle for the rest of your day. One of the beauties of golf is that when I get to hole number 2, I got a brand new tee box. I don't have to bring that bad tee shot over here. And just like with life, each day is a new day. So maybe on number 2, I get the good tee shot, and it lands middle of the fairway, 110 yards out. I kind of relate my iron shot into the green is like some prayer time during lunch. When you get lunch break, take 5 minutes and spend it alone with God to help him get through the rest of the day. And maybe on the way home in your car in the evenings, take 5 minutes and just pray and thank God for the things he's done for you, and your day might turn into a birdie. A lot better than that double bogey on number 1, right? Get to hole number 3, it's another brand new start. Fortunately, I don't have to bring the shot from number 1 and put it over in the woods, but by the same token, I don't get to bring the tee shot from number 2 and place it in the middle of the fairway. Hole number 3 starts with a brand new tee shot. My challenge of day 19 is to make sure that as godly men and women, God-appointed men and women, everybody in this room, you've been placed by God where you are. And my encouragement to you would be to seek godly wisdom and godly counsel every morning, that God might lead, guide, and direct you through the day, that you might make the decisions that God would have you make that will direct the future of the great state of Georgia. I greatly admire and appreciate all of the work that you do. Thousands of Georgians are praying for you right now. Thousands of Georgians are praying for the power of God to reach down and touch you, to make decisions, to carry this country where God would have it to go, and certainly to form the great state of Georgia in the way that God would have us formed. Thank you so much for all you do. God bless you. Let us pray. Father God, we just want to tell you thank you so much, God, for loving us the way that you do, God. And thank you for loving us in spite of us, in spite of our failures, in spite of our mistakes, God. I thank you, Father, for reaching down, God. I thank you for every man and woman in this room, God. And Lord, I pray that you'd reach down and empower them with your sweet Holy Spirit. God, it'd be my prayer that you'd touch them, where you give them godly guidance and wisdom. Lord God, I ask you to put a hedge of protection around their families, God. I pray that you keep them safe during this time. And Lord God, from this day forward, Lord, will you bless them and use them in a great and mighty way. Lord, we love you, Father. We thank you for all that you've done, and God, all that you're going to do. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen. Join in the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Doorkeepers will unlock the doors. Chair recognizes Chairman Taylor, the chair of the Committee on Information and Audits.
Madam Speaker, your Committee on Information and Audits has reviewed the proceedings of the previous legislative day and found them to be correct.
Chairman Taylor, the chair of the Committee on Information and Audits, reports that the journal of the previous legislative day has been read and found to be correct. Is there any objection to the confirmation of the journal? The chair hears none, and the journal is confirmed. The clerk will read the resolution establishing the order for the business of the day.
Mr. Burns, on 59 moves the following to be established as the order of business during the first part of the period. Unanimous consents. Introduction of bills and resolutions. First reading and reference of House bills and resolutions. Second reading of bills and resolutions. Report of standing committees. First reading and reference of Senate bills and resolutions. Morning orders.
Is there any objection to the adoption of the resolution establishing the order for the business of the day? The chair hears none, and the resolution is adopted. First reading of bills and resolutions, the clerk will read.
House Bill 875 by Representative Buckner of the 137th, Smith of the 134th, Euclid of the 136th, Smiley Reed of the 135th, and Peasold of the 133rd. Bill be titled an act to amend Chapter 24, Title 33, the Fiscal Code of Georgia, annotated relating to insurance.
Insurance.
House Bill 876 by Representative Corbett of the 174th, Nimmer of the 178th, Powell of the 171st, England of the 116th, McCall of the 33rd, and others. Bill be titled an act to amend Code Section 8-2-25 of the Official Code of Georgia, annotated relating to statewide application of minimum standard codes.
Agriculture and Consumer Affairs.
House Bill 877 by Representative Nimmer of the 178th, Dempsey the 13th, Burns of the 159th, Burkle of the 155th, Shaw of the 176th, and others. Bill being titled an act to amend Chapter 11 of Title 48 of Fiscal Code of Georgia annotated relating to taxes on tobacco products.
Ways and Means.
House Bill 878 by Representative Clark of the 147th, Smith of the 134th, Blackman of the 146th, Raffensperger the 50th, Lumsden of the 12th, and others. Bill being titled an act to amend Code Section 33-24-44.1 of the Fiscal Code of Georgia annotated relating to procedure for cancellation by insured.
Insurance.
House Bill 879 by Representative Jones, 167th, McCall of the 33rd, Powell of the 171st, Battles of the 15th, Williams of the 145th, and others. Bill being titled an act to amend Article 2, Chapter 5 of Title 12 of the Fiscal Code of Georgia annotated relating to control of water pollution.
Natural Resources and Environment.
House Bill 880 by Representative Jones, the 167th, McCall of the 33rd, Powell of the 171st, Battles of the 15th, Williams of the 145th, and others. Bill be titled an act to amend Part 1 of Article 2, Chapter 8 of Title 12 of the Fiscal Code of Georgia annotated relating to general provisions relative to solid waste management.
Natural Resources and Environment.
House Bill 881 by Representative Jones, the 91st, Drenner of the 85th, Henson of the 86th, Williams of the 87th, and Mitchell of the 88th. Bill be titled an act to amend an act to provide for a new charter for the City of Atlanta.
Intergovernmental Coordination.
House Bill 882 by Representative Cantrell of the 22nd, Lott of the 122nd, Mathiak of the 73rd, Gillian of the 24th, Taylor 173rd, and others. The bill be titled an act to amend Code Section 16-12-141 of the Fiscal Code of Georgia annotated relating to restrictions on the performance of abortions.
Judiciary.
House Bill 883 by Representative Hanson of the 80th, Powell of the 171st, Oliver of the 82nd, Park of the 101st, Kelly of the 16th, and others. The bill being entitled an act to amend Code Section 19-13-3 of the Fiscal Code of Georgia annotated relating to the filing of a petition seeking relief.
Judiciary.
House Bill 884 by Representative Mathiak of the 73rd, Turner the 21st, Caldwell the 131st, Stover the 71st, Williams the 145th, and others. The bill being titled an act to amend Code Section 712-5-175 of the Fiscal Code of Georgia annotated relating to fluoridation of public water systems.
Health and Human Services.
House Bill 885 by Representative McCall of the 33rd, Knight of the 130th, Jaspers of the 11th. A bill being titled an act to amend Article 1 of Chapter 9 of Title 12 of the Fiscal Code of Georgia annotated the Georgia Air Quality Act.
Natural Resources.
House Bill 886 by Representative Watson, the 172nd, Powell, the 171st, McCall, the 33rd, Dickey, the 140th, Perkle, the 155th, and others. Bill being titled an act to amend Article 1 of Chapter 8 of Title 48 of the Fiscal Code of Georgia annotated related to state sales and use taxes.
Agriculture and Consumer Affairs.
House Bill 889 by Representative Gravely of the 67th, Hitchens, the 161st, Powell of the 32nd, Lumsden of the 12th, and Ridley of the 6th. Bill being titled an act to amend Part 1 of Article 5 of Chapter 9 of Title 45 of the Fiscal Code of Georgia annotated relating to the Georgia State Indemnification Fund.
Public Safety and Homeland Security.
House Bill 890 by Representative Fleming of the 121st, Burns of the 159th, Coomer the 14th, Kelly of the 16th, Reeves of the 34th. Bill being titled an act to amend Article 2 of Chapter 11, Title 16 of the Fiscal Code of Georgia annotated relating to offenses against public order.
Judiciary Non-Civil.
House Bill 891 by Representative Gilliard of the 162nd, Oliver of the 82nd, Gardner of the 57th, Hill of the 3rd, Thomas of the 56th. Bill being titled an act to amend Chapter 4 of Title 30 of the Fiscal Code of Georgia annotated relating to the rights of persons with disabilities.
Judiciary.
House Bill 892 by Representative Beskin of the 54th, Silcox of the 52nd, Golick of the 40th, and Hanson of the 80th. The bill being titled an act to provide for a new homestead exemption from City of Atlanta ad valorem taxes.
Intergovernmental Coordination.
House Bill 893 by Representative Beskin of the 54th, Silcox of the 52nd, Golick of the 40th, and Hanson of the 80th. Bill being titled an act to provide for a new homestead exemption from City of Atlanta Independent School District property taxes.
Intergovernmental Coordination.
House Bill 894 by Representative Jones of the 25th. Bill being titled an act to amend Title 20 of the Fiscal Code of Georgia annotated relating to education.
Education.
House Bill 895 by Representative Cooper, the 43rd Hatch of the 150th, Jaspers to the 11th, Newton of the 123rd, Hawkins the 27th, and others. Bill be titled an act to amend Part 1 of Article 2 of Chapter 13, Title 16. The official code of Georgia annotated relating to schedules, offenses, and penalties.
Health and Human Services.
House Bill 896 by Representatives F. Stration of the 104th, Willard of the 51st, Trammell of the 132nd, Caldwell of the 131st. Bill being titled an act to amend Title 29 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to guardian and ward.
Judiciary.
House Bill 897 by Representative F. Stration of the 104th, Willard of the 51st, Trammell of the 132nd, Morris of the 156th, Caldwell of the 131st. Bill being titled an act to amend Chapter 6B of Title 10 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to the Uniform Power of Attorney Act.
Judiciary.
House Resolution 1089 by Representatives Powell of the 171st, England of the 116th, Harrell of the 106th, Blackman of the 146th, Kelly of the 16th, and others. A resolution urging the United States Congress to pass the Federal Marketplace Fairness Act.
Ways and Means.
House Resolution 1090 by Representatives Watson of the 172nd, Hardin of the 148th, Tanner of the 9th, Laricchia of the 169th, and Perkel of the 155th. A resolution authorizing the change of use of certain property located in Jeff Davis County.
State Properties.
House Resolution 1091 by Representative Gonzalez, the 117th, Brockway, the 102nd, Fry, the 118th, England of the 116th, Parks of the 101st, and others. A resolution creating the House Study Committee on Athens-Atlanta Transportation Link.
Transportation.
House Resolution 1101 by Representative Jones, the 25th, Tanner, the 9th, Morris, the 26th, Cantrell, the 22nd, Gillian of the 24th. A resolution honoring the life of Sergeant David P. Land and dedicating an intersection in his memory.
Transportation.
House Resolution 1102 by Representative Parker, the 101st, Stovall, the 74th, Glant of the 75th, Wen of the 89th, Dickerson of the 113th, and others. A resolution creating a House Study Committee on increasing access to pre-K and after-school programs.
Special rules.
Senate Bill 197 by Senator Black of the 8th, a bill being titled an act to amend Chapter 2 of Title 47 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to the Employees Retirement System of Georgia.
Retirement.
Senate Bill 328 by Senator Alvarez of the 56th, Hufstetler of the 52nd, Cowser of the 46th, Hill of the 4th, Watson of the 1st, and others. Bill be titled an act to amend Article 2 of Chapter 7, Title 48 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to the imposition rate computation and exemptions from state income tax.
Ways and Means.
Senate Bill 338 by Senator Ligon of the 3rd, Cowser of the 46th, McCoon of the 29th, Miller of the 40th, Gooch of the 51st, and others. Bill being titled an act to amend Article 1 of Chapter 13 and Title 50 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to general provisions for administrative procedures.
Judiciary.
That completes first readers.
Second reading of bills and resolutions. The clerk will read.
House Bill 854 by Representative Williams of the 145th, a bill relating to sales and use taxes. House Bill 855 by Representative Defenbaugh of the 1st, a bill relating to the Georgia Drivers Education Commission. House Bill 856 by Representative Defenbaugh of the 1st, a bill relating to creation of Board of Public Safety, composition and appointment in terms of office of members. House Bill 857 by Representative Dreyer of the 59th, a bill relating to inmate policies. House Bill 858 by Representative Blackman of the 146th, a bill relating to general provisions regarding specific business and occupation taxes. House Bill 859 by Representative Gassaway of the 28th, a bill relating to secondary metals recyclers. House Bill 860 by Representative Donahue of the 30th, a bill relating to prohibited acts involving alcoholic beverages. House Bill 861 by Representative Gordon of the 163rd, a bill relating to general provisions relative to insurance. House Bill 862 by Representative Teasley of the 37th, a bill relating to special license plates. House Bill 863 by Representative Glanton of the 75th, a bill to conditionally repeal an act providing a homestead exemptions from ad valorem taxes for city purposes for the city of Jonesboro. House Bill 864 by Representative Glanton of the 75th, a bill to amend an act to provide a new charter for the city of Jonesboro. House Bill 865 by Representative Parris of the 142nd, a bill relating to controlled substances. House Bill 866 by Representative Turner of the 21st, a bill relating to identity theft. House Bill 867 by Representative Hitchens of the 161st, a bill relating to employment and training of peace officers. House Bill 868 by Representative Schofield of the 60th, a bill relating to the establishment of the low THC oil patient registry. House Bill 869 by Representative Bruce of the 61st, a bill to repeal an amendment to the Constitution of Georgia, creating within Fulton County the Fulton County Industrial District and prohibiting the governing authority of Fulton County from levying any tax for educational purposes. House Bill 870 by Representative Bruce of the 61st, bill to amend an act to incorporate the city of South Fulton and Fulton County. House Bill 871 by Representative LaRicki of the 169th, a bill relating to sales and use taxes. House Bill 872 by Representative Knight of the 130th, a bill relating to insurance. House Bill 873 by Representative Knight of the 130th, a bill relating to insurance. House Bill 874 by Representative Teasley of the 37th, a bill relating to charter schools. House Bill 887 by Representative Powell of the 171st, a bill relating to local government, military, emergency management, and veteran affairs, public utilities, public transportation, revenue and taxation, and state government. House Bill 888 by Representative Knight of the 130th, a bill relating to tax exemptions from property tax. House Resolution 1076 by Representative Hitchens of the 161st, resolution urging the federal government to provide port funding. Senate Bill 118 by Senator Unterman of the 45th, a bill relating to coverage for autism. Senate Bill 352 by Senator Unterman of the 45th, bill relating to general provisions relative to health. Senate Bill 357 by Senator Burke of the 11th, a bill relating to health. Through second readers.
Reports of standing committees. The clerk will read.
Representative Rogers of the 10th District, Chairman of the Committee on Economic Development, submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, the Committee on Economic Development has had under consideration the following bills and resolutions to the House, and has instructed me to report the same back to the House. The following recommendations: House Resolution 940 do pass. House Resolution 1076 do pass. Respectfully submitted, Representative Rogers of the 10th District, Chairman. Representative Kevin Tanner of the 9th District, Chairman of the Committee on Transportation, submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Transportation has had under consideration the following bills to the House. It has instructed me to report the same back to the House with the following recommendations. House Bill 717 do pass by committee substitute. Respectfully submitted, Representative Tanner of the 9th District, Chairman.
Please take all conversations to the anteroom, take your seats, and give the podium your attention. We're moving on to morning orders. We have a number that have signed up. The chair will ask for brevity, but with respect to the first two morning orders, I do ask for your full attention regarding most sad events. The chair recognizes Chairman Andy Welch and the Henry delegation.
Good morning, members of the House. Good morning, state of Georgia. It is this morning that the Henry delegation comes to you with a heavy heart. As you have heard over the weekend, if you would please rise, because I will ask for a moment of silence, but as you have heard this weekend, a member of the City of Locust Grove Police Department was shot and killed in trying to execute an arrest warrant this weekend. He was 26 years old. He was actually a cadet, Chase Maddox. He was a cadet, first hired cadet out of school, and started when he was 22 years old. He served until he was 26 with his end of watch. And two sheriff's deputies were also shot. Both are stable now. We rise to remember Chase, but I also, as you take a moment of silence to remember Chase and his wife and the baby that is to be born possibly this week or next week, and his young son, I also would ask you that please remember the family of Mr. Guthrie. He's the suspect, and he is also deceased, but he left 3 boys and a wife as well. So there are a lot of people that have lost this weekend, and I just would ask that you remember all of them. So if you would bow with me with a moment of silence. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Chairman Green and Representative Elam for another presentation on another sad event in Georgia.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. This past weekend, an individual that has been associated with this Capitol for a number of years. He served in so many capacities with the community bankers. On Saturday, he was rushed to the hospital for an emergency surgery, and he passed away. I'm talking about Charlie Curry. Charlie Curry has been a friend to many individuals in this House, and he has served in many capacities. I would ask that you, for a moment of silence for him and his family who reside in Shelman, Georgia, there. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Representative Benton for a morning order.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Today is Georgia Day. 285 years ago, the first colonists stepped foot on Georgia soil at a place called Yamacraw Bluff in Savannah. We see what has happened in those 285 years of Georgia's existence, but I want to go back and talk about those first colonists. There were 114 of them, all walks of life. We are taught sometimes in our history books that Georgia was a home for debtors, yet no debtors ever came to Georgia because the trustees changed the rule. Georgia was set up to be a defense for South Carolina, a home for persecuted European Protestants, and as a place for trade to grow specifically grapes and to produce silk. Of all those things that were reasons for Georgia, only as a defensive barrier for South Carolina was Georgia's success. But we owe everything we have in Georgia to one individual, James Oglethorpe, whose brainchild Georgia was 285 years ago today. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Chairman Tanner for a morning order.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Any of the Lanier caucus members from the Lake Lanier Association would like to join me. Madam Speaker, I just wanted to recognize a group that's going to be with us today from our Lake Lanier community. Today, February 12th, is Lake Lanier Day at the state capitol, and we will be presenting them with a resolution later today, and would like to thank them for all the contributions our lake makes to the economy of the great state of Georgia. So thank you very much.
Chair recognizes Representative Stovall for a morning order.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I come before you members this morning to ask, why are you doing this to the county where I live? What's in your evil heart will come out, and that's what happened on last Thursday with some of the, at a meeting, committee meeting. It's disheartening to hear such egregious and belligerent comments towards citizens of this state to justify $18 million as a free pass to Delta and other airlines. What would you do for your county? How would you react if you heard that this amount of money would not come to your county, or that you should never have been doing with it what we were doing with the money now? And we should be happy that we had the money when we did. How is it that the pot is going to call the kettle black? Because the state continued to collect fuel jet taxes also along with Clayton County. Who else has broken the federal law? We talk about limited government. According to whom? This morning I welcome our FCCLA students from Baird Middle School and residents of businesses from Clayton County who's come down to the Capitol to let everyone know that Clayton County is well alive and we're ready to fight for what is deservingly ours when it comes down to the fuel tax. I'm no stranger to controversy or hard conversations. I take a stand knowing it could hurt my chances of bills being passed, but I'm comfortable taking that risk, standing on the side of right. I'm a winner in the Creator's eyes. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Chair recognizes Representative Belton for a morning order.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. If I could have the Military Affairs Committee down here and also the Veterans Affairs Committee. The short morning order, or just a veteran. Since World War II, it's been America's policy to have military superior technology over our foes. Superior technology means less American casualties when soldiers have to go to war. Military has been the smallest since now. It has been for 75 years, all while we're engaged in threats all across the globe. So we'd like to officially thank Congress for the $1.4 trillion that just been given to the military in a bipartisan compromise and a 2-year continuing resolution in Washington, D.C. Now, we realize this is not a perfect arrangement, but it does give the military the funds it needs to fund soldiers, ships, and airplanes and reinvest in our future. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Representative Bernal for a morning order.
Good morning, Madam Speaker. I rise this morning. Clayton County suffered a loss this weekend. One of our mayors, who is also my mentor, passed away early Saturday morning, Mayor Willie Oswald. He had been the mayor of Lake City for 41 years. So can we please have a moment of silence for him? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
The chair recognizes Representative Scott for a morning order.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Today is a great day for Clayton County and the Georgia General Assembly. House Bill 821 has brought over 1,000 students, parents, principals, pastors, business leaders, and seniors to the Capitol today. House Bill 821 will decimate our counties, cities, and school system. We will not be silent, and we will not stop fighting for a solution. Hidden in House Bill 821 on page 8 through 9, you will see where they start talking about a jet fuel tax exemption to Clayton County. This fuel tax exemption will cost Clayton County this year $18 million annually moving forward. On yesterday, a parent stated, and I quote, "My daughter was so excited when Miss Dill came to her school to read last month. She stated that Mrs. Dill wanted to make sure all children were able to read by 3rd grade. But on Saturday, she had to tell her daughter that Mrs. Dill's husband, Governor Dill, wants to take $18 million from Clayton County with $9 million coming from the school system. Her daughter was disappointed. Today, we stand united and Clayton County strong. I would like to thank Superintendent Dr. Beasley, our parents, employees, seniors, students, and faith community for coming to the Capitol today. If you're from Clayton County, would you please stand? And the rest are in the hallways. Thank you.
The chair recognizes Chairmen Tanner, England, Watson, and Jay Powell for a morning order.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker's talked this morning about our Speaker, David Ralston, not being here today, but did not mention to you where he was. So we wanted to come to you and give you a little bit of information, which I think you'll find very exciting about where Speaker Ralston is today. Speaker Ralston had a vision last session to do some things for rural Georgia and created the Rural Development Council, chaired by these two fine gentlemen here, leaders in our chamber. And he also had the vision that we needed to look at metro transit and transit throughout our state, and created the Transit Commission on Governance and Funding. As a result of those efforts and the work that he's done and the vision he's had, he received a call last week from the President of the United States, President Trump, inviting him to come to the White House today. He's meeting with President Trump and his staff to talk about the infrastructure rollout that's going to occur over the next few weeks and that legislation. So Georgia continues to be a leader in that area because of the leaders we have in this state, including Russell McMurray, our Commissioner at the Georgia Department of Transportation, who was in Washington 2 weeks ago today, meeting with the Secretary of Transportation. So we're thankful for the leadership we have in this chamber, and we're thankful for folks like Russell McMurray and for the two gentlemen behind me keeping Georgia at the forefront of leading in our infrastructure improvements. So thank you. Oh, and Vice Chair Sam Watson of the Rural Development Caucus. I can't see out of the back of my head. But thank you very much, and I'll ask these other gentlemen if they got anything to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman Tanner. Chair recognizes Chairman Coleman of the 97th for morning order.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. It's my pleasure today to introduce a great family from Duluth, and I'd like to ask if they would, Mr. and Mrs. Omar Ishaq, to please stand. They're from Coleman Middle School, their child up there, so let's give them a big hand. Let them know we appreciate them up there. Thank y'all so much.
Chair recognizes Chairman Maxwell for a morning order.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to drop a little bill this morning, and may generate you a few phone calls, so I want to give you a heads up. I'm going to start tinkering with the teacher's COLA. That get anybody's attention? It's only going to affect employees that were hired after July 1st, 1993. I would like to go back further and do some stuff on that, but let me give you a little background. I'm a former school board member. I was on our school board 14 years. I was chairman 7 years. I know how hard it is to work and put together a budget for our school system. We are in a dire situation now with our TRS system and the state of Georgia's budget. We're over the last, since 2010 to 2019, we spent $995,628,000 just on the annual required contribution that we have to put into the TRS to make it sound every year. The employee contribution rate has gone from 9.28% to 20.9% this year. That means out of every dollar the teachers are earning, the school systems are paying 21%. If you've got a $200 million budget for personnel cost, $41,200,000 is going directly into TRS. If you've got a $2 billion budget, like some of our systems have, for payroll, $412 million is going into TRS. COLAs that have been given out over the last since 2010, it was $56 million in 2010 is what the teachers got in COLA. It's grown. This year it's going to be $110 million. Over this period of time, they have received $750 million in COLA. I got the TRS book that they print every year, and I'm going to be honest with you. We've been like frogs in a pan. You know, when you get a bunch of frogs, put them in a pan. I've heard this story. You turn the heat on, and you can gradually turn that heat up. They never know it's getting hotter, and it'll boil you to death. Well, I'm trying to jump out of that pan. I've got a bill here. I'm not going to ask anybody else to sign on with me. If you want to be a frog, get out of the pan. I'll accept your signature on this. But if you don't want to, you don't have to. But just for your information, in 2008, the state of Georgia paid into the employer contribution was $986 million. 2009 it was $1,026,000. 2010 $1,057,000. 11 billion 86 is up now to $1.684 billion with a B that we're putting into TRS every year, right out of the taxpayers of the state of Georgia. So I think there's got to be a stopping point. I would encourage our people running for governor next year, our men and women that are running for governor. This is unsustainable. We're going to wind up like Illinois and some of these other states that have a employment system. Their indebtedness to their retirement systems is driving them to the brink of bankruptcy. I don't know exactly what all the answers are. This is a start. I wanted to share that with you if you start getting phone calls. I got one other point. It talked about in the bill that we've got actuarial soundness is supposed to be looked at on this. I'm not sure who our actuaries are. I don't know how they develop the actuarial soundness of a system. I mean, if I've got somebody putting in $1 billion, $1.6 billion, $1.7 billion a year, I could probably figure that maybe it's going to be actuarial sound if you've got a deep pocket that's going to keep making it sound. But the COLAs are supposed to be only generated when the system is actuarial sound. I got a copy of the out of the our book, chapter 47, 2010. We've got to assure the actuarial soundness of each retirement system when they get a COLA. I've got some questions about that, and maybe those folks will come by and see me after a while. But anyway, I wanted to make you aware of it. The bill's here. I'm dropping it. Like I said, I'm not asking for y'all to be a frog and jump out of the pan with me, but we're going to try it. And you may get a phone call or two. So, I told my secretary to be ready. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Chair recognizes Representatives Rogers, Gertler, and Hawkins of the White County delegation.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I thought the White County group was, they are there. Okay, great. Today is White County Day at the Capitol. White County wanted me to express to everyone that they are open for business. It's one of the most beautiful counties in the state of Georgia, located right up in the mountains of northeast Georgia, and a huge tourist destination. You'll see them wandering around today. Make certain you talk to them. You won't find a friendly group of people. So if you're from White County, stand up. Let's just give them a round of applause. Thank you, Madam Speaker. We'll yield the well.
Chair recognizes Representative Howard from Morning Order.
Good morning. I come to you today to bring you a Black History moment that would highlight some local and state officials from the Augusta area, Mr. Benjamin L. Dent and Mr. Richard A. Dent, two brothers located out of Augusta. The influence of these two brothers on city and state government is far-reaching, but even greater is the way they conducted themselves with dignity and intelligence through difficult times. They easily are two of the most respected people who ever came out of the Augusta Black community. I want to focus on Mr. Richard Dent, who was a member of this body. His name is Richard Algernon Dent, often called Papa Dent. In 1966, became the first black person elected in the Richmond County area to the Georgia House of Representatives since Reconstruction. He served 16 years in the Georgia General Assembly. He became a prominent businessman with his own company called R.A. Dent Flooring, located on 12th Street in Augusta. In 1975, Papa Dent became the first black chairman of a state house committee, the Human Resource and Aging Committee, since Reconstruction. The next year, he was voted unanimously as a choice of the member of the Richmond County delegation as chairman, and held that position without challenge until he retired from the House 7 months before his death. I'll go on to further just tag what I know about Mr. Dent. I was able to know both of these gentlemen, and as a young man, admired them for their work in the Augusta area. Seeing Papa Dent come home and talk about some of the things that were going on, well, that must be him calling me right now. No, that's not him. But Papa Dent was a friend of that community and a friend of many. And I must say that I proudly sit here today, or stand here today, representing the same district that he represented in that area, and still stand on the shoulders of some great men that held this position before myself. By the likings of who followed Papa Dent was Charles Walker. Who followed Charles Walker was Henry Howard, my dad, and then my mother and stepmother, and then myself. So I stand on the shoulders of Papa Dent and proudly represents this district. And if you want to know more about him or want to see a portrait of him, his picture sits right out in the hallways of this Capitol, and he has proudly represented that area, and he did great things for the Augusta area. Mr. Papa Dent, let's acknowledge him today with, if you don't mind, just give him a round of applause, because he was a very prosperous man. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Chairman Cooper for a morning order.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, and also our spectators, to the House members, you will find on your desk a little gift from Grady. It is hand sanitizer. Please use it. And Grady would like you to know, I know I sound like a broken record, but this is directly from Grady. The flu epidemic is not abating. It is growing. And it is very severe, the patients when they get it. So would you please start a practice, quit shaking hands with people on the road line. If you have to do something, set the example and bump elbows. Now I know that sounds silly, but you need to quit shaking hands. If you're sick, don't come to work and spread it among the rest of us. And please, if you think you're getting the flu, go immediately to your physician, see if they can get you on Tamiflu, and start helping you make it less than it might be. And the other thing is, it is still time. Get a flu shot. So that is a advertisement straight from Grady Hospital, because they care. Atlanta cannot survive without Grady, and this is your little gift. Use the sanitizer and get more when this runs out. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
That concludes our morning orders. The chair recognizes Chairman Powell to introduce the Doctor of the Day.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and ladies and gentlemen of the House. You know, it's a very distinct honor for me to introduce a friend of mine this morning as Doctor of the Day, Dr. Rasheem Hodge. And I say a friend of mine, I didn't know him until about a year ago. And this is a guy who diagnosed my stubborn self with what my problem was when I kept self-diagnosing that I had a bad back. He's a guy that diagnosed me with wore-out knees pinching on sciatic nerves. And what a great guy he was, especially when he called to tell me there wasn't anything wrong with my back except for that yellow streak that I was afraid of doctors and idea about being cut on. But Dr. Hodge is a native of New Jersey. He's a native of New Jersey. He attended Morehouse College where he got his BA degree in psychology, went on and got his medical degree from the Robert Wood Johnson Medical School, and he did his internship at Morehouse in 2005. Upon completion, he specialized in family medicine and those illnesses that circulate around pain management to those families. He's been active in many hospice programs, and he's also been an advocate as well as a physician who has studied pain management from the standpoint of the legalization of cannabis oil, or as he's told me, anything except opioids. And you know, that's a man after my heart. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce Dr. Rasheem Hodge and his assistant Ty, who's with us today.
Come on up. Thank you, Alan Powell, for the warm welcome and the awesome introduction. The flu is going on. If you guys have the capital crud, runny nose, please come on down and I can take care of you. The Tamiflu does shorten the duration of the flu from 7 days to 5 days. It won't prevent it, but it will shorten the duration of the flu. And let's talk. I'm downstairs, and I'm happy to help. Thank you for having me. I'm humbled. Thank you.
Please take your conversations to the ante room and give the podium your attention. We're about to honor a very important Georgian through an invite resolution, one who lost his life. It's his family's loss, our state's loss, and our nation's. The chair recognizes the chairman to introduce the family.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Colleagues, if I could have your attention, please. If I could have your attention, please. Thank you. It's my sad but solemn duty to ask you to join me in honoring a fallen hero from our state. Thank you. Staff Sergeant Dustin Wright was one of the 4 service members that was killed in Niger in the fight against terror, so that we could live not only free, but free in fear from others who would harm us. I was reminded when I was contemplating, when I was speaking, and I'll introduce the family in just a second, saying about those soldiers who gave their lives. I remember when David lamented about when Saul and Jonathan were killed. He said, in life they were loved, and in death they were not separated. And that's a wonderful thing. Now let me introduce the family here.
With us we have Dustin's father Artie, his mother Terry, some little Artie, he likes to be called by his friends at least, and his brother Will, Dustin's brother Will. And let me say something about this family, and this is, I don't know how many families could say this, but there has been a combat veteran in the Wright family from every conflict that this country has fought in since the War of 1812. Since the War of 1812. That's a proud heritage. And it's one I know that Dustin, more than any of the rest, I would say, has carried to fulfillment to honor his country. I'm going to introduce his father Artie to make some comments.
I appreciate the recognition that the state is offering to our family. This has been a rough time. Clearly, to lose a child, I wouldn't wish it on anyone. But Dustin was an honorable young man, and he was one of those flamboyant personalities that could kind of like light the room up when he walked in, like a John Wayne type or something. But I'd also like to offer my thanks to all the people through the heart of Georgia that quote unquote saluted him when we brought him home. We brought him into Hartsfield, and we carried him down I-75, I-16 to US 1, and all the way down there were people on the overpasses with flags and law enforcement people and first responders, and it was just really good to see that there's still enough respect left in the state of Georgia to honor my son. And it was a turnout. The Special Operations Command, the general that came to the ceremony we had, he said that he'd been in the Army for 38 years and he'd never seen a community turn out that way. There were literally thousands and thousands of people that saluted my son. And I know we hear about the dedication of the highway, US 1 in Toombs County, and that's appropriate because that's the way he came home. And our family has been connected to that highway for as long as I can remember. And I always thought, no matter where I was, if I could get to US 1 or Highway 80, I can make it back home, right? And so that's kind of fitting. We brought him back home, and we brought him down US 1, and I appreciate y'all. Thank you.
The clerk will read the caption to House Bill 592.
House Bill 592 by Representative Lumsden of the 12th and others, to be entitled an act to amend Code Section 33-2-34 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to insurance compliance self-evaluated privilege so as to repeal the applicability and sunset provisions. This bill having been referred to the Committee on Insurance. That committee recommends that this bill do pass.
Chair recognizes Chairman Lumsden to present the bill.
Good morning, Madam Chairman, members of the House. I bring to you House Bill 592, which removes a sunset provision in our current insurance code. In 2015, we passed House Bill 162 that establishes a process of self-evaluative privilege. This process allows insurers to conduct internal compliance reviews of their business activities. If they discover an area of noncompliance and they correct it themselves, then it permits them to avoid the penalties that are associated with that noncompliance. The sunset provision was included to give the Insurance Commissioner's Office an opportunity to review the effectiveness of the program. They have done so, and they have concluded that this process is effective and should be continued. House Bill 592 simply removes the sunset provision from that code. That is the bill, Madam Speaker, and I will be glad to answer any questions.
There are no questions.
Thank you. I'd appreciate your favorable consideration.
The gentleman has yielded the well. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All in favor of the passage of the bill will vote yes. All those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machine. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas were 156, the nays were 1. The bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Clerk will read the caption to House Bill 734. House Bill 734.
House Bill 734 by Representative Smith, the 134th, Lumsden, the 12th, Taylor, the 173rd, and others. Being entitled an act to amend Title 33 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to insurance so as to provide for modernization and updates. This bill having been referred to the Committee on Insurance, that committee recommends that this bill do pass by committee substitute.
The chair recognizes Chairman Smith to present the bill.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. House Bill 734 begins to bring the insurance code, first enacted in 1960, into conformity with our current drafting of the general code provisions. Basically, all it does, this bill covers the first 10 chapters of the title and cross-references. You'll find corrections for wrong citations, style, punctuations. It's basically kind of like what Jerry Seinfeld said about his show. It's his show. He said his show was a show about nothing, and that's what this bill is a bill about nothing, except it just makes some corrections to the insurance code. I'll be glad to answer any questions.
There are no questions. The gentleman has yielded the well. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to adopting the committee substitute? The chair hears none. The committee substitute is adopted. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All in favor of the passage of the bill will vote yes. All those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machine. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machine on the passage of the bill. The yeas were 162, the nays were 0. The bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. The clerk will read the caption to House Bill 739. House Bill 739.
House Bill 739 by Representative Williams in the 168th and others to be titled an act to amend subpart 1 of part 6 of article 6 of chapter 2 of title 20. The official code of Georgia annotated relating to employment of certified professional personnel in elementary and secondary education. This bill having referred to the Committee on Education, that committee recommends that this bill do pass.
Chair recognizes Representative Williams to present the bill.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'm glad to report that this bill is about something. This is the identical bill that this House passed out unanimously last year. And in an effort to show respect for the spouses, it's being named the Tracy Rainey Bill. 60% of military people that re-up because of their spouses or with the support of their spouses, and they are the unsung heroes of our military. Again, this bill has made no changes except to add the name of Tracy Rainey, who is the wife of former Commanding General James Rainey of the 3rd Infantry Division. I'll stand for any questions, Madam Chair.
There is a question. The chair recognizes Representative Williams of the 87th for a question. He waves. There are no more questions.
He just wanted to wave.
There are no further questions.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair, and I ask for your favorable consideration.
The gentleman has yielded the well. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All in favor of the passage of the bill will vote yes. All those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machine. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machine on the passage of the bill. The yeas were 162, the nays were 0. The bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Clerk will read the caption to House Bill 487. House Bill 487.
House Bill 487 to be entitled an act to amend Article 6 of Chapter 3 of Title 38 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to the Disaster Volunteer Relief Act, so as to authorize certain employees of state agencies to be granted leave from work with pay in order to participate in specialized disaster relief services. This bill having referred to the Committee on Public Safety and Homeland Security. That committee recommends that this bill do pass.
Chair recognizes Representative Bonner to present the bill.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, members of the House. Today I rise to present House Bill 487. This bill amends the Disaster Volunteer Relief Act to include state employees who volunteer members of the Civil Air Patrol. The Civil Air Patrol is auxiliary of the United States Air Force and performs a vital role in search and rescue and disaster recovery operations. This provides the Civil Air Patrol members the same status as we currently provide to state employees who volunteer with the Red Cross. These employees would receive up to 15 days paid leave within a 12-month period to participate in disaster relief. This leave would only be granted for a named disaster and only with the permission of the employee's department head in conjunction with Georgia Emergency Management and Homeland Security. Leave under this article is only granted for disasters within Georgia or a contiguous state with a reciprocal agreement. And with that, Madam Speaker, I will stand for any questions and ask for your favorable consideration.
The gentleman has a question. The chair recognizes Representative Rogers of the 10th to your right.
Will the gentleman yield?
I'll yield.
Is it not true that this is your first bill?
The gentleman knows of what he speaks.
And will you further yield?
I will.
Is it not true that you are an Army officer? Is that correct?
That is correct.
and this bill deals with the Air Force Auxiliary.
That is correct.
Could you sing the first stanza of the Air Force song for this body?
I cannot. I am an Army officer, and as such, I am precluded from singing any of the inferior branches' songs. And with that, Madam Chair, I will yield the well.
I think that Chairman Cooper would want to weigh in on that.
The gentleman correctly yielded the well. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All in favor of the passage of the bill will vote yes. All those opposed will vote no. And the clerk will unlock the machine. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas were 161, the nays were 1. The bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Clerk will read the caption, House Bill 678.
House Bill 678 by Representative Smith, the 134th, and others, to be titled an act to amend Title 33 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to insurance so as to provide for consumer protections regarding health insurance. This bill having referred to the Committee on Insurance, that committee recommends that this bill do pass by committee substitute.
The chair recognizes Chairman Smith to present the bill.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. For over 3 years, I've been trying to solve an issue that's a tremendous burden on the citizens of Georgia, and it's clearly tied to one reason that mine and your constituents file for bankruptcy, and that's because of the price of health care. You probably heard the term of surprise billing or balance billing. Probably to give you a definition wouldn't explain what it is, but I want to give you an example to tell you exactly how it works. You or your constituent go to the hospital for a scheduled procedure. You have insurance, you've met all your deductibles, you've done your due diligence as far as to determine if the hospital's in network or if your doctor's in network, and they both are. You have your procedure and everything goes as planned. You go home with the comfort of knowing your financial burden, you think, is behind you and you can concentrate on getting well. In short, you have done everything right, or so you believe. So what's the big deal? Well, the big deal is 4 weeks go by, 2 months go by, maybe 14 months go by, and then you go to your mailbox and surprise, surprise, you have a medical bill. You have a surprise bill in the mail that may be for $200, $500, $1,200, $5,000, and I saw one case the other night for $60,000. And needless to say, that gentleman said he filed bankruptcy. I have examples of each if you need some more. So what do? Who do you call? What's the bill for? And why wasn't you told about that it was coming? Well, let me tell you what happened. Some healthcare providers decide they don't want to be an insurance network, and this way they can charge you whatever they want to. I have numerous examples of this occurring. Now, some of these out-of-network charges are as much as 10 to 12 times higher than in-network charges. I've got examples of probably 18 pages of one group and probably 10 or 12 pages of employees from the state health benefit plan who've sent examples of this happening to them. and I think you need to listen to this next comment. 2 out of 3 of you will get a surprise bill in the next 2 years. 2 out of 3 will get a surprise bill within the next 2 years. Now, the crazy thing about this, the doctors who do this, and there's an article that was in the American Medical Association Journal this January of last year.
The gentleman will suspend.
Yes, ma'am.
This is an important bill. The chair asks for the chamber's attention. Thank you. The gentleman shall continue.
Thank you. The crazy thing about this, these group of doctors that normally participate in this, that were identified by the American Medical Association, have exclusive privileges at a hospital. They have a monopoly there. They're the only game in town. You don't have any say-so in who treats you. And you don't make appointments with these doctors. You wouldn't know one if you passed him on the street. So what does House Bill 678 do? Well, hopefully it'll resolve an issue of surprise billing for scheduled procedures. Now, you need to understand it's for scheduled procedures, not emergency room procedures. 678 does its work through transparency. The hospitals or the healthcare facilities, if you ask, are required to tell you who the doctors are who will be part of your procedure, have to give you their names. They have to tell you what their fees are. They have to tell you if those doctors are in network or in your insurance network or not. They have to tell you what insurance pays. And then you know what your balance is, so there will not be a surprise. Now, if it comes up that you've got 1 or 2 of these doctors who are not in your network, you've got some options. You can tell the hospital you would like somebody else to perform your procedure. Or you can say, well, maybe I need to go to another hospital depending on what the cost is. Or you can agree to just to pay the balance bill, but at that point it's no longer a surprise. Now, in addition, so that you'll know who to talk to if a problem arises, the hospital or the healthcare organization is required to give you the contact information for the doctors. You don't have just a telephone number of the hospital. Now, I'm going to make a statement here, and I've made it before. For the life of me, I cannot understand why a hospital CEO doesn't have the intestinal fortitude to tell a contract physician that the same thing that a CEO from a hospital told me one night. What he said was he had just got off the phone with a contract physician, and he told the physician, you got one of 3 options. First option, you can be in the same networks as the hospital. Second option, you can get in other networks, but you need to be in some networks. Or the third option is the first time a patient calls me and fusses me out, chews me out, badmouths my hospital because of an outrageous bill you sent. The third option is you can get gone. Now, I think that's a pretty good message that we need to hear. Now, in addition to addressing the surprise part of this thing, comes the collections. 1 out of every 5 of your constituents is in collections right now because of medical bills. 1 out of every 5, 22%. Now, House Bill 678, if it makes it through the process, you should only get a surprise bill if there are no complications. But if there are complications, other things kick in, you may get a surprise bill from the doctors who are brought in. But another little secret on this bill, it gives some time frames that you receive your bills. I mentioned to you that 14 months. I received a notice from a lady who's a member of the state health benefit plan. Her husband passed away, and she received a bill almost 24 months later. That's obscene, folks. According to this bill, patients will have to receive their bill within 90 days. Then they have a 90-day period to try to get it worked out with the insurer, the hospital, and themselves. And then if that doesn't work, there's a resolution, dispute resolution process part of this. Now, according to a Consumer Union report, 57% of patients who encounter surprise billing from a contract physician within the last 2 years went ahead and paid it in full, didn't argue. There's one or two of you told me that you've done that recently. I understand one of you had 3 of these surprise bills in one year time frame. So many times people who just give up on these particular bills. Ladies and gentlemen, transparency is one of the most basic tenets that we have, and this is what this bill does. It addresses transparency, it addresses billing, and also addresses dispute resolution if you can't come up with a solution. That concludes my remarks on this. I ask for your favorable consideration, and Madam Speaker, I'll be available for any questions.
There are questions. The chair recognizes Representative Jones from District 167 for a question.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Does the chairman yield for a friendly question?
Yes, sir.
You have worked tirelessly, have you not, on this bill for years, trying to help consumers deal with this surprise billing issue?
It's a serious issue. Yes, I've spent well over 3 years working on this.
And to be commended for your efforts, because I know you
Thank
worked
you.
very, very hard. I do have a clarifying question for you. I did vote in favor of this bill as it came out of full committee, but just one question as to the triggering mechanism when an individual, a patient or family member is to be notified of in-network, out-of-network charges. Is it not true that the patient or family member has to initiate that question, or is the provider required to tell the patient and family that they may be receiving services from an out-of-network provider?
When you go in for a scheduled procedure, the hospital or healthcare facility is required to tell you when you do your schedule and your pre-registration for your procedure. If you ask, they are required to tell you the doctor. They are required to tell you if that doctor or provider is in network. They're required to tell you the fees, what insurance pays, and what your balance would be if you have one at that point before surgery.
Does the chairman yield for one follow-up question?
Yes, sir.
That's the key word you said in your response, is that the patient family member must ask.
Correct.
That's the clarification I was looking for, to see if it's a requirement of the provider to provide that information, or if the patient and family members must ask that question.
You need to ask. If you go in for the procedure, you need to ask for that information, and they're required, if this bill passes, they'll be required by law to give it to you.
Thank you for that clarification.
Thank you.
The chair recognizes Representative Bentley at the rear for a question.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Does the gentleman yield?
Yes, ma'am, and it has nothing to do with funeral homes.
Thank you. Thank
Okay.
you. But is it not true that the constituents of House District 139 really appreciates this legislation? And I've been a big supporter of this legislation. I've been to various meetings in support of House Bill 678.
Yes, ma'am, that is correct.
And thank you for your work on this.
Thank you, ma'am.
The chair recognizes Representative Williams to your left for a question.
The gentleman yield.
Yes, sir.
Is it not true that transparency is needed? When you walk in, you have no idea that somebody is going to work on you that will not be covered by your insurance.
That's correct. At this point in time, you're exactly right.
Is it not also true that reluctantly I support your efforts?
Well, I understand as a close seatmate that you went through some of this experience, and I'm just trying to help you out.
The chair recognizes Representative Laricchia to your right for a question.
Does the gentleman yield?
Yes, sir.
Friendly question. Is it not true that there's not a law currently that determines how long they can wait before they send you a bill, whether it's a month, 6 months, or a year? There's nothing that limits the amount of time that they have to send you a bill.
That is correct for providers. And our hospitals operate under a different code section and all. and I think they're required about a 5-day period, which is very hard to do. But for the other contract providers, you're exactly right.
Chair recognizes Representative Dukes for a question.
Will the gentleman yield?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, does this bill address not just out-of-network physicians, but also in-network physicians when you come to the hospital or another service provider in getting full disclosure as to who is going to be performed services and how much they are to be paid?
This will, if you're an in-network provider, you're pretty much covered. It's where you're out-of-network providers because, for example, there was an instance where someone, there were an anesthesiologist, they put somebody to sleep. The insurance normally paid $300, which is what they paid for that procedure, but the bill was for $26. You would know that at the hospital once you went through the scheduling process. They would have to tell you, but your insurance network would be balanced with, if they in network, it'd be balanced with the payment.
So is it that you're saying that once you go in for the procedure, I think what my constituents are having a problem with it, not only my constituents, but the representative of House District 154, you go to the hospital and they say you're going to have this procedure done and I want X amount of dollars up front, pay all the bills right then, and 2 months later, the doctors group is now calling me as you speak, saying that I owe them for those services. So I'm trying to figure out.
Well, it all depends on who the bill's from. If it's from the hospital, that's one thing, but it's from an out-of-network provider, that's a different story. Because under current scenario, there's no requirement for them to send you a bill in any kind of time frame. The hospital has to send you one in 5 days, according to the law, but they say it's almost impossible to do. But if you're out of network, they can send it in 14 months, and it has nothing to do with what the in-network charge or cost would be.
Would the gentleman further yield?
Yes.
Is there anything in law that says that once the hospital agrees to provide a service and they tell me how much it is, that they cannot come back later on and say, you owe X amount of dollars from the doctors group?
Well, the doctors groups are contracted. They are separate from the hospital. Now, they just operate out of the hospital, but they are separate from the hospital for these contracted providers.
Thank you.
There are no more questions.
Thank you, ma'am. I yield the well.
The gentleman has yielded the well. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to adopting the committee substitute? The chair hears none. The committee substitute is adopted. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. As shall this bill now pass. All in favor of the passage of the bill will vote yes. All those opposed will vote no. And the clerk will unlock the machine. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas were 164, the nays were 1. The bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Clerk will read the caption to our final bill today, House Bill 723.
House Bill 723 by Representative Watson, the 172nd, will call the 33rd Jaspers, the 11th, and others to be titled an act to amend Chapter 8 of Title 48 of the Official Code of Georgia, annotated, relating to sales and use taxes so as to create an exemption from state sales tax and use tax for certain veterinary diagnostic and disease monitoring services. This bill having referred to the Committee on Ways and Means. That committee recommends that this bill do pass by committee substitute.
The chair recognizes Chairman Watson to present the bill.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, today I bring before you HB 723. This is a bill allowing a tax exemption to the Poultry Veterinary Diagnostic Lab, which is better known as the Georgia Poultry Improvement Association. It is administratively attached to the Department of Agriculture, and they use state funds. This organization began around 1933 and became a part of a state agency and Georgia law in 1946. Since then, they have been paying sales tax on money that we appropriate to them. So we just want to slow down that circulation of money and allow them to use that money and continue to improve our $38 billion industry, which is poultry, to this state. And I would appreciate your support.
The gentleman has a question. The chair recognizes Representative Gilligan for a question. To the rear.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Does the gentleman yield?
Yes, ma'am.
I did have one question. In looking at the fiscal note, I saw that only one local government would be impacted. Is that local government in agreement with the loss of revenues that is represented in this bill?
I have not spoken with them, but it's the largest industry in their location, in their county, so I would think they would be okay to it.
Okay, so that's something, does the gentleman further yield?
Yes.
So that is something, as it works through the Senate, perhaps you could come back and let us know how the local jurisdiction would feel about that?
Yes, ma'am. If they have a disagreement with it, we can work on that in the Senate.
Thank you very much,
All right.
sir.
Thank you.
The chair recognizes the Chairman of Agriculture, Chairman McCall, for a question.
Jim and Neil.
Yes, sir.
Are we not talking about the one poultry lab in the state that looks after the whole southeast and protects this whole state from avian influenza along with all the other poultry diseases?
Yes, sir, we are. At an industry that provides about 138,000 jobs in a state where we produce almost 30 million pounds of chicken a day.
So don't we, if you further yield,
yes,
don't we think this little dab of sales tax that we may keep out of the circulation of what the state fund will be made up on a lot of other stuff that gets purchased by that industry?
yes, sir. $130,000, give or take, is a very small investment on a $38 billion industry.
Chair recognizes Representative Rogers to your right of the 10th.
Will the gentleman yield?
Yes, sir.
Is it not true that for the past 5 years, Georgia's been the #1 state in the nation for business?
Yes, sir.
And the #1 business in the state of Georgia is agriculture, and poultry is the largest portion of that.
You are correct.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
There are no more questions.
Thank you, and I appreciate your support.
The gentleman has yielded the well. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to adopting the committee substitute? The chair hears none. The committee substitute is adopted. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All in favor of the passage of the bill will vote yes. All those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machine. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machine on the passage of the bill. The yeas were 161. The nays were 2. The bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. The clerk will read the caption to a group of privileged resolutions.
recognizing and commending Megan Gregg, commending and congratulating Charles Madison C.J. Ramseur, commending and congratulating Hunter Andrew Wyridge, recognizing February 13th, 2018 as Emergency Medical Services Recognition Day as a state capital, and commending the emergency medical services professionals of Georgia, recognizing February 28, 2018 as After School Day at the state capitol, recognizing and commending the state YMCA of Georgia and Center for Civic Engagement and Y Club programs which sponsor youth assembly, among other programs that cultivate youth civic engagement, recognizing and commending Ms. Alice Rafferty on the occasion of her retirement, commending and congratulating CareLink of Northwest Georgia, its board of directors and volunteers, and WellStar Health System on the occasion of establishing the CareLink Clinic in Dallas, Georgia, commending Georgia Linemen and recognizing the month of April 2018 as Georgia Lineman Appreciation Month at the state capitol, recognizing and commending Tim Harper for being awarded the title of Constitutional Officer of the Year of the state of Georgia, recognizing and commending Norma Adams, commending Georgia court-appointed special advocates, and recognizing February 14, 2018 as Casa Day at the state capitol, commending Tommy Welsh, the 2017-2018 Georgia Principal of the Year, congratulating Paulette and Jimmy Cantrell on the occasion of their 50th wedding anniversary, recognizing and commending Miguel Hernandez and Vivian De Jesus, and for other purposes, recognizing United States Military Purple Heart recipients and dedicating a portion of the highway in their honor, congratulating Juanita and Richard Neal on the occasion of the 50th wedding anniversary, congratulating the Earhart family on the birth of Emmy Grace Earhart, recognizing and commending Daniel Dudigan, the 2017 Outstanding Georgia Logger of the Year, commending and congratulating Orion Storm Carmack Goodwin, commending and congratulating Sean Patrick Mullins, commending and congratulating Jorge Flores, commending and congratulating Robert Jordan Riley Higgins, recognizing and honoring the military commanders of the 94th Airlift Wing at Dobbins Air Force Reserve Base, recognizing and commending the YMCA of Metro Atlanta on the 160th anniversary, recognizing the Second Amendment to the United States Constitution, recognizing March 14, 2018 as Skin Cancer Awareness Day at the state capitol, commending Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity, Inc. and the Georgia District chapters, and recognizing February 15, 2018 as Alpha Phi Alpha Day at the state capitol, commending Georgia Community Service Boards, and recognizing February 23, 2017 as Georgia Association of Community Service Boards Day at the state capitol, recognizing February 21, 2018 as Substance Abuse Prevention Day at the state capitol, and for other purposes. That completes the reading of the privileged resolutions.
Is there any objection to adopting the privileged resolutions? The chair hears none, and the resolutions are adopted. The chair will move on to announcements. The chair recognizes Chairman Harden for an announcement.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The meeting scheduled for the Environmental Quality Subcommittee of the Natural Resources and Environment Committee has been rescheduled. That meeting was scheduled for 4 p.m. this afternoon. It is now moved until 8 a.m. tomorrow morning. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Chair recognizes Chairman Hitchens for an announcement.
The Defense and Veterans Affairs Committee will meet at 1 p.m. in Capitol 132.
Chair recognizes Representative Sharper for an announcement.
Thank you, Speaker. Tomorrow is Georgia EMS Day here at the Capitol. We would like to invite all of you guys to come to the EMS breakfast. It's going to be 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. in the morning in Georgia Capitol Room 216. 216, breakfast in the morning, 216. See ya.
Chair recognizes Chairman Harden For a further announcement,
The Environmental Quality Subcommittee also has changed locations. The meeting in the morning at 8 a.m. will be in room 403 of the Capitol. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Chair recognizes Chairman Dollar for an announcement.
There will be a meeting, Interstate Cooperation Committee, 3 o'clock in room 606, CLOB. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Representative Reeves for an announcement.
The Reeves Subcommittee of Judiciary Non-Civil will meet at 1 o'clock today in room 406 of the CLOB. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Chairman Barr for an announcement.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Code Revision Committee meeting today, 2 o'clock, 415, room 415, CLOB. Also, Resource Management Subcommittee at 3 o'clock, 510 CLOB. Resource Management, 3 o'clock, 510 CLOB. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Chairman Welch for an announcement.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Public Safety Subcommittee will meet at 1 o'clock today in room 506. This is the Public Safety Subcommittee on Appropriations, and we're going to meet at in room 506 CLOB at 1 o'clock. It said at adjournment, but there's a chairman's lunch that we're having today, so we're going to postpone that till start time at 1 o'clock. And then also, out of due respect to the Rules Chairman, we have unfortunately duplicated a scheduling for tomorrow morning. Our Public Safety Subcommittee on Appropriations will not meet at 9 a.m. We will reschedule to 4 p.m. and we'll be in room 406 CLOB. So the morning meeting tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. is moved to 4 p.m. in CLOB 406. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Chairman Taylor for an announcement.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Insurance, Life, and Health Subcommittee will meet today in room 505 at 1 p.m. Thank you.
If a representative has a page up here waiting for a picture, please make your way to the front. Please make your way to the front for page pictures. The chair recognizes Representative Shannon for an announcement.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The DeKalb delegation will meet today upon adjournment in room 230 of the Capitol. The DeKalb delegation will meet today. DeKalb House delegation will meet today in room 230 upon adjournment.
Chair recognizes Representative Chandler for an announcement.
The House Education Subcommittee on Academic Achievement will meet today at 1 o'clock in 415 CLOB.
The House Majority Leader is recognized for a motion.
Madam Speaker, I move this House stand in recess until 4 p.m. today and then stand adjourned until 10 a.m. Tuesday, February the 13th, my favorite day, 2018.
On the motion of the Majority Leader that this House stand in recess until 4 p.m. today, at which time we will adjourn until Tuesday, February 13th, 2018 at 10 a.m. All those in favor will say aye. All those opposed will say no. The ayes clearly have it, and we are adjourned.